McLaren, an F1 team that I can just vaguely remember, had the worst start to a season in 2023, where in Bahrain, their car could be very much mistaken as a lawnmower, had pit stops worse than Ferrari, and drivers that don't even want to drive the car. In just one race, this team lost every bit of respect they had left, and the entirety of Formula 1 was clowning them. McLaren sponsors after seeing the result in Bahrain. McLaren's 6-stop race in 2011. McLaren's 6-stop race in 2023. Orange is the new Williams. Okay, this is actually good. You see, ever since McLaren's horrible performance in Bahrain, they could only dream of finishing in P1 and P2. And during that time, those positions were completely dominated by Red Bull. Or just Max Verstappen, really, because Perez would sometimes be busy preparing for Demolition Derby, but regardless, Max Verstappen in 2023 was the complete opposite of McLaren. The Dutch Minister of Gas Stations was invulnerable, winning 19 races and finishing them 20 seconds ahead of the rest. From Max's POV, no threat was there to be seen, and although Fernando Alonso came close to being one, he would just pass him easily, or Aston Martin would just find a way to screw up somehow, leaving Max confused as to what competition he would face next, thinking it would be Ferrari, Mercedes, or Aston Martin again. During this time, McLaren was not even in the picture. They were still being clowned by everyone. But at least that only lasted until Silverstone.
Very good start, Lando Norris leads. Piastri's trying to take second, but Max Verstappen around the outside. But it is Lando Norris who leads. It's so close down to Brooklands. Yeah, Piastri's actually having a little look around the outside, but Verstappen being a little cautious. He knows. Cops corner. It's a risky place to try and go down the inside, as we know. Oh, Verstappen going onto the dust. I wondered if he would make a mistake. As he's going to go for it. Down the inside into Brooklands, and Max Verstappen has taken the lead from Lando Norris.
Silverstone was the day McLaren pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in F1 history, a redemption so insane that you could even say it was more impressive than Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback story or even Kim Kardashian's. Although that might be a different type of comeback, but you get the point. In Silverstone, Lando Norris took the lead of the race, and Oscar Piastri absolutely charged after Verstappen. McLaren managed to make the racing robot actually look vulnerable for once. Even if it only lasted a couple of laps, it surprised everyone, even Verstappen himself. And as for the rest of 2023, McLaren maintained their form and even beat Aston Martin in the championship. As an Alonso fan, I was obviously devastated.
What the fuck?
But to be fair, Aston Martin only has one driver, while McLaren completely aced their driver lineup. If only Aston could do the same. But the point is, ever since Silverstone, McLaren proved to the world that their team has so much potential. So enter the 2024 season of Formula 1. This is where Max and McLaren's war goes crazy. Before Bahrain, McLaren changes their Instagram account like a 20-year-old goth girl going through a phase, hinting at something special, but everyone is still doubtful if they are able to perform as well as last year, let alone challenge Max. Max already appears like he's going to completely dominate 2024. The RB20 has a 6-month head start in development, and Max is, well, no shit, one of the fastest drivers on the grid. Although, there are still people who believe that it's just the car. This statement is about to age like a banana you bring to work just to never eat it. You'll see why later. But regardless, Max looked like he was gonna dominate again. And as the season began, it seems that way. He wins in Bahrain by 22 seconds, schools the field in Saudi Arabia, loses in Australia because his car farted, wins in China by 14 seconds, and wins in Japan by 12. Max Verstappen is back to being an unstoppable force. But during these races, McLaren was actually doing just as well as they were last year. Some people might even say better. I was surprised by this. 2023 wasn't a one-hit wonder. McLaren actually knows what they're doing. If just in the next race, McLaren could get their car to perform just slightly better, to get right behind Max and wait for his car to fart again, I think my dick would explode. Spoiler alert, my bottom half looks like this now. May 4, 2024, F1 comes to Miami. This is where things start to take a turn for the worse, if you're Max Verstappen. Immediately in free practice, his car can't get out of the pit lane without exploding.
Is it again running too hot or what?
Yeah, that's correct.
Running.
And how do you want me to learn the track?
If you're McLaren right now, you're probably rubbing your hands together and licking your lips behind a tree because this weekend has not been it for Max. But Max being Max, he still sets pole position, and then came the race. Lando and Oscar immediately gun for positions, but they have the Ferraris to deal with before they can get to the Bulls. But by lap 4, Oscar Piastri went up 4 positions and was on Verstappen's ass. My goodness, was his driving beautiful, but unfortunately not enough to catch Max. At least until the dude hit a fucking cone. Now, believe it or not, this cone that Verstappen hit actually caused critical damage to his Red Bull. So then a safety car goes in Lando Norris's favor. Max Verstappen tries to chase him down, fails miserably because his car has too much damage, and Lando takes the win. For the first time in a long time, McLaren finally beat Verstappen. Celebrations were thrown around, and every single Formula One fan straight up looked like this. But little did people know that this race would actually mark a turning point for everyone. Max Verstappen now knows McLaren is a potential threat, and as for McLaren, they now know that they can actually beat him. Verstappen is no longer as untouchable as he was in 2023, and McLaren wants to be the ones to touch him. That does not sound right. But after Miami, McLaren knew that they were a team capable of winning. So what did they do after that race? Well, they went to do exactly that.
Closer to home, Norris chasing Verstappen. Can Norris line up for the overtake?
They're going to be tasty.
This is going to be a big opportunity for Lando Norris, who will be thinking about that inside line. Max Verstappen knows it. He took the defensive move.
After Miami, McLaren got closer to Max in every single race. And when they got close enough to the Red Bull, they threw everything they had.
He's going for it! So late on the brakes! Lando Norris trying to claim second place. How powerful is the DRS? There's your answer! He was pushing DC, and we saw that he's absolutely... He's nearly there. He's nearly home. Lando Norris has chased him all the way.
As Lando Norris got some moves done on Verstappen that other teams can only dream of, McLaren was rejoicing. But unfortunately, that didn't last very long, because at the end of the day, well, they're still fighting Max Verstappen.
And he's got the advantage for the moment, but Max Verstappen is trying to reply, and he will go ultra late on the brakes as well. The top two brawl amongst themselves, and Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris is going to be standing on the power in the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix for a second.
And unfortunately for McLaren, no matter how close they got to victory, it would always be the same result.
The 60th time in Formula One, Max Verstappen takes the win. Red Bull back on top. Story continues here in Austria for Red Bull and Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen wins the sprint once again. He beats the two McLarens home. Verstappen will take back the top step. Max Verstappen wins in Imola. What a finish from those two across the line.
But enough with the cinematic montages that I spend way too much time editing. It is now time for a deep eye-opening analysis. It is now time that we use our real eyes to realize the real lies. The battle between Verstappen and McLaren after Miami has brought in a lot of changes, especially to the Papaya team. These are McLaren's highest finishing positions in the 4 races after Miami: Imola, Monaco, Canada, Barcelona. P2 across the board. And this is how they performed before Miami. I am convinced that Lando Norris's first win flipped a switch in every McLaren employee's head. The team's mentality has completely changed. They are pushing so much harder, especially Lando himself. Ever since his first win, Lando's mentality has shifted to a completely different direction. This was Lando in races before Miami, finishing on the podium. And this is him after Miami, finishing in the exact same place. If you can't tell the difference between Lando here and Lando there, you must be blind. Just pay attention to how different his responses were to finishing in P2 here.
So the pace was strong, but like I said, a little bit surprising, but of course to finish on the podium is always a great day.
How are you feeling about it?
We should have won. The team deserved the win. I just lost out a little bit in the 2 meters. I lost out in the beginning of the race.
Ever since his first win, Lando has been hungry for more. I won't be surprised if next year he ends up looking like Zach Brown, alright? The dude is hungry. He's no longer satisfied with P2 like he used to be because he now knows he can get more than that. It's no longer little Lando Norris, but instead midlife crisis Lando Norris, who is hellbent on getting more wins for McLaren. Thankfully though, it should be easy for Lando and Oscar as long as McLaren keeps having the fastest car. But there's still one problem. Max Verstappen. The only reason why McLaren can only finish in P2 the past few races is because of this dude. And Charles in Monaco, of course, aka the race I play when I want to fall asleep. But Max has been the only thing stopping McLaren from total domination. Lando Norris could have had 4 wins to his name by Barcelona, but thanks to Max, he only has 1. These two might be besties, but I'm betting you that Lando is losing his mind by the minute. But McLaren not winning these 4 races, I believe, is more of a credit to Max for being an outstanding driver rather than McLaren being a shit team. Not gonna lie, the real shit team during these races was probably Aston Martin. While McLaren was asking the question, how do we beat Verstappen, Wingstop team over here was asking, how do we even build a car? I'm not even joking, they were the 7th fastest car during these races. On the other hand, McLaren had the fastest car. Which brings me back to Max Verstappen. The skill this man has to win 3 of these 4 races has been insane. Imola, McLaren, fastest car. Lando was gaining on Max every single lap. Max wins. Canada, Lando overtakes Max, has a 20-second gap. Max wins. Barcelona, without a doubt, McLaren, fastest car on track again. Lando Norris charged up the field, but Max still wins. And yet people have the audacity to say it's just the car. To the people saying this, I hope this happens to you. Actually, now that I think about it, it probably won't even do any damage to the people saying this bullshit because they're probably already fucking brain dead. But with McLaren being hungrier than ever before and Max Verstappen being the usual racing monster that he is, it seems that this rivalry is about to reach its boiling point. And so it did. F1 arrives in Austria. Both McLaren and Verstappen are eager to get the win. FP1, things immediately get spicier than Lewis Hamilton eating chicken wings.
Holy shit.
Max Verstappen's car farts again, apparently because of an engine problem this time, and McLaren is once more rubbing their hands and licking their lips. But only until 3 minutes later when Red Bull somehow managed to get Max back on track. I swear Red Bull fixing their cars is faster than a Sauber pit stop. But off to sprint qualifying, McLaren, fastest car for like the 4th race weekend now, dominates the front row with Norris and Piastri on top, but then is beaten by Max Verstappen by less than 100 of a second. Just the car, my ass. If it's just the car for Max Verstappen, then can someone please explain to me what Sergio Perez is doing right next to the Alpines? Heck, the entire reason why I titled this video Verstappen versus McLaren and not Red Bull versus McLaren is because Max is fighting an entire team by himself. Sergio Perez is busy training for Demolition Derby or Chinese F4. I can't even tell at this point. But now it's time for the sprint race. McLaren immediately goes hunting for Verstappen, especially Lando. I can just tell. This man is genuinely sweating his balls off going after Max. He tries the inside line in turn 3, gets defended. Lap 5, he dives to the inside of turn 1, sticks the move, gets ahead of Verstappen, but not for long. Max dives into the inside, takes the place back from Lando. We get this awesome shot of the McLarens going after Max. Lando is extremely eager to get by, but Oscar Piastri just ends up passing him. And Max Verstappen takes P1 from McLaren again. But on to the actual race. Within the first 40 laps, Alpine nearly has an all-out civil war. Fernando Alonso looks like he can't be bothered to even try in races anymore because the AMR24 can't go fast like before. Oh my god, I'm spitting bars. And as it was lap 48, the race seems to be heading in a boring direction. But by lap 50, we had the biggest plot twist in F1 history. Max Verstappen has a pit stop of 6.5 seconds, pretty much making the 7-second gap he built from Lando Norris completely obsolete, and comes out the pit lane only 1.5 seconds ahead of him. And so the chase began.
They've had the helping hand of a slow stop.
He's gone wide. Oh, he did lock up. Did he make the corner? Oh, Lando Norris, is he brave immediately again? This time Verstappen covers it off. Is it late again? Is it great again for Lando Norris, who tries to slow it down, but he overtook him off the road? What a late lunge it was. 16 between the Mercedes pair, and now on lap 63, Lando Norris slows it down. Him on once again. This time it's the outside line. Oh, they make contact. He's got a puncture. He's damaged his front wing. The leading contenders for the World Championship come together at turn 3. The crowd can't believe it.
Oh, great heavens. Max and Lando nearly recreate Monza 2021. They both get punctures, tumble out the podium. Max gets a 10-second penalty, and George Russell takes the lead. What fairy tale am I living in? The last 20 laps of Austria has got to be some of the most nail-biting, head-scratching, ass-clenching moments in Formula 1. This battle was insane. Two best friends, potentially gay for each other, fighting on track for the win. Formula 1 is at its peak, ladies and gentlemen. We just don't realize it. It doesn't get any better than that. Though I gotta say, the fan reception on this incident was very mixed and controversial. Some people thought it was Max's fault, some people thought it was Lando's. I personally think some of Max's moves were insane, but with that being said, some of Lando's moves were also insane. And then I realized, man, these two are not best friends. I am 100% sure they've dated before. This is some toxic ex behavior. Now I know you guys are also asking, how could such light contact cause a huge puncture, right? I mean, these two barely licked each other's ass cheeks. But then I realized again that in Austria, McLaren installed front wing upgrades that looked like this. Guys, McLaren didn't bring upgrades to the race weekend. They brought a fucking weapon. But as soon as George Russell took the lead, Toto had something to say on team radio, and George did not like it one bit.
George, you can win this. You can win this, George.
Just let me drive.
Ah, yes. Just let me fucking drive, says George Russell, the man known for crashing in the last lap. In other news, also in Austria, Yuki Tsunoda got fined 40 grand for using the hard R on team radio. Now I know you guys are asking, which hard R was it? Was it the N-word hard R? Or is it what many people say, the Lance Stroll hard R? Well, Yuki Tsunoda is still in Formula 1, so it was the Stroll hard R.
These guys are fucking retarded.
Okay, no worries.
This is the worst.
But going back to Max and McLaren, they have changed so much over this rivalry, even if it's just getting started. We have so many more years to come, but still, I know many of you guys want to know the winner of this battle. It started in 2023 and has been going crazy. So regarding the winner, is it the abused child or the papayas? And well, based on everything we've learned in this video, ladies and gentlemen, even if it's too soon to tell, the true winner of this rivalry, I can confidently say, is Netflix. And the media. And the other teams. And the other drivers. Pretty much everybody except for Verstappen or McLaren.